Nanotechnology, Carbon Nanotubes, by Kalen Moffat-Steinke. Carbon nanotubes, shortened to CNTs, are an allotrope of carbon with extremely strong and light properties. They are cylindrical structures made of single-atom thick carbon layers called graphene. Graphene sheets are made up of a hexagonal mesh of carbon atoms. They have unique properties that make them potentially useful in a variety of applications. Carbon nanotubes are extremely light and strong. This allows them to be constructed in forms where their length is over 100 million times greater than their diameter, making them exceptionally useful in material science. Additionally, certain types of CNTs are 1,000 times more conductive than copper is, showing their electrical potential. No pun intended. Carbon nanotubes are categorized into single-walled nanotubes and multi-walled nanotubes, which each have different properties depending on their construction. A single-walled tube is a single layer thick, while a multi-walled tube is any number of multiple nested nanotubes held apart by intermolecular forces. Carbon nanotubes were discovered in 1991, making them a very recent technological advancement. They are already used in several industries, but their real potential is yet to be realized. At the moment, carbon nanotubes are used primarily as composite fibers and polymers, meaning they are added to another material. Several companies already sell mass-produced products which utilize CNTs combined with carbon fiber, epoxy resins, and other materials. These combined materials have shown incredible tensile strength and toughness improvements, up to 30% beyond the base materials. Researchers have demonstrated in laboratories that CNTs can act as scaffolding for bone growth on a cellular level, suggesting they can be used in biotechnology in the future. So far, structures composed only of CNTs are too small and expensive to be useful for most real-world applications, but researchers are developing ways to make macro-sized objects out of CNTs which will be orders of magnitude stronger than the polymers we use today. The strength and flexibility of CNTs makes them ideal for use with other nanotechnology, suggesting that as other forms of nanotechnology are further developed, we may see CNTs playing a key role. So far, in addition to their extreme strength, we know they possess unusual thermal and electrical conductivity properties as well as magnetism, suggesting that they can be used in batteries, capacitors, transistors, and other electrical systems. Health and safety. Working and interacting with CNTs can be a safety risk due to their tiny but thin and strong physical form. Due to their tiny size and low density, they can float around in air. If inhaled, researchers believe that certain types of CNTs may cause lung damage in a similar manner to asbestos. This is believed to be a risk during the production of CNT products and not necessarily during use. Only short-term studies have been done on workplace exposure to CNTs, which showed marginal increases of stress markers in the participants indicating impaired homeostasis. This only occurred when levels were above those recommended by health agencies. Animal studies with even higher levels of airborne CNTs show increased risk of cancer and lung damage. Risk to workers can be mitigated using breathing masks and local exhaust ventilation, which can reduce exposure to airborne CNTs by 88% and 95% respectively. Environmental risks. There is speculation that carbon nanotubes released into the environment in certain forms could be hazardous. Given their strength and long lifespan, scientists are avoiding exposure of CNTs to the outside environment. Studies are underway to determine the level of risk created by CNTs in the environment. Luckily, what we do know is that we don't have to worry about airborne particles like we do in an enclosed space, because the particles need to be inhaled in large numbers to cause damage. Regulations. Though currently nobody knows the exact level at which exposure to airborne carbon nanotubes becomes hazardous, the American National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health recommends no more than 1 microgram of CNTs per cubic meter of air. This is below the level shown to cause damage to mice and below the level that caused stress indicators in humans. In Canada, any new nanotechnology substance, including nanotubes, undergoes health risk assessments, but there are no regulations about workplace exposure. Risk-benefit analysis. It's important to weigh all the possible benefits of carbon nanotubes against any possible risks or drawbacks. Right now, carbon nanotubes are prohibitively expensive for large-scale applications at $100 to $700 per gram, which means that they can only realistically be used in microscopic amounts or in high-budget applications. Anyone creating or buying carbon nanotubes must consider the possible health risks before using the technology in their product. Certain applications may not be feasible because safety cannot be assured. However, if a company can afford to use carbon nanotubes safely in their product, they can see a significant improvement in strength which could lead to higher sales or higher usability. Several mainstream sports equipment manufacturers have successfully implemented CNT polymers for years, proving its viability in such a use case. As the technology improves, more and more viable use cases for carbon nanotubes will appear.